Hello and welcome to Team PokeMart, your one-stop shop for things that you need to stop and or shop for. And today I am pleased to let you know that we have a mighty bundle of really angry-looking Geodude from both Kanto and Alola waiting to be purchased by you. Yes, just imagine you could possess one of these fine rocks with very judgmental faces. Just before we get into it though, lately I've been taking up rock sculpting classes in honor of the glorious Geodude, and may I present to you my magnum opus, the rock subscribe button for Team PokeMart. And yes, I know, it does look like it was made by Michelangelo himself. Or was it David? I don't know. I forget which one was the naked rock and which one made the naked rock. In conclusion, I want you to rock smash that button, which will keep you up to date with all of our latest stock here at Team PokeMart. But jumping right into our advertising today, Geodude. He is a rock. There's honestly not all that much to say about its design. It is an angry, gurning boulder with arms, big arms, which is still pretty cool. I mean, I do love simplicity on this channel, but let's be real, if this design was released in a newer generation, then it would be probably touted as the most uncreative thing since anthropomorphic ice cream. Although I guess for the very first rock-type Pokemon in the Pokedex, Game Freak adopted the philosophy of, so, shall we make the rock Pokemon a rock, perhaps, with a face? And fair enough, I think it works just fine. Part of the reason why Geodude looks angry is because whilst relaxing atop of mountains and caves, trainers are prone to stepping or tripping over them, mistaking these dudes for boulders or rocks. And if I was constantly being trampled on, well, you bet I'd be slightly annoyed. I mean, literally trampled upon, that is, because emotionally I get trampled on by upper management on a daily basis here at Team PokeMart. Whilst only having 2 arms and no legs, Geodude is by no means weak. It will use its arms to hoist itself over steep ledges or steps, clearly never skipping an arm day, although I suppose every day is arm day when all you really have is arms which also need to be used as legs, which I guess by default makes every day leg day as well, which means that Geodude is quite possibly the most efficient workout machine to have ever existed. And although legs are but a faraway dream to the simplistic Geodude, this desire can readily become a reality after 25 levels of rocking and rolling, as Geodude will evolve into Graveler and develop the lower limbs of legend. And here he is, now with its own set of legs as well as an extra set of arms actually, which seem to be perpetually rubbing its tum-tum. Sort of like it's always engaged in a deep belly laugh, you know, like ho 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 ho. But Graveler is a force to be reckoned with, and the biggest difference you'll notice other than its newfound limbs is the sheer size of this thing. It is now a rather large boulder and appears much more rugged than before, probably due to the wear and tear of Geodude rolling down hills at top speeds. And atop of its quote-unquote head, which I think also doubles as its body, is a more defined section of whittled away rock that almost looks like a crown or headdress of sorts. How fancy, Graveler. I didn't know you liked to dress up. But just like Geodude, Graveler is known to roll itself down slopes to get places, only it doesn't seem to be able to steer itself or slow itself down. And as such, it will just roll and roll until it collides with an object much more sturdy than itself. Or rather depressingly, there is another option, as Graveler's Ultramoon Pokedex entry states that if, by chance, it ever falls into a river, then it will explode with its last gasp, which is another in a long line of Pokedex entries that prove that this world is far more cruel and vicious than most 10-year-old trainers realize. Moving swiftly away from that now, as a certified big boy, Graveler need to be fed only the best of nutritious food for its species, and for Graveler, this delicacy would be rocks. Yes, the rock Pokemon who is made of rocks also consumes rocks, which I would argue is cannibalism. Although one very interesting Pokedex entry for Graveler in the Diamond game claims that they make their homes on sheer cliff faces by gouging out numerous horizontal holes, which can make them a bit of a pain to catch if you are not an experienced mountain climber. But then again, even if you are, why risk falling off the cliff when you could literally just purchase the damn things here at your local Team PokeMart? And look, if the idea of capping out at a Graveler does not arouse you, then fear not, because by simply trading your Graveler, it will evolve into something much more better, being a Golem. And seemingly out of absolutely nowhere, we have a tortoise? Golem's main body appears to be a conglomerate of grey-green boulders all smashed together and then polished down into a somewhat flat, jagged ball thing. I mean, really, just between you and me, if rock Pokemon had genitalia, then I would imagine this is exactly what their testicles look like. Golem now appears to have flesh, arms, and legs, as opposed to them being made of rock, which are an ashy brown color and have white claws at the end of each digit. Its head appears to be smooth, but not quite flat on top, and on its bottom jaw are 2 sharp-looking teeth that I sincerely really hope never latch on to me because they look quite owie. And here's the thing. I personally think that Golem is super cool, but the correlation between Geodude and Graveler was crystal clear, although it was a rock, not a crystal. Whereas Golem kind of feels like he belongs in a completely different Pokemon line altogether. But then again, perhaps Golem is simply the Butterfree to a Graveler's Metapod. And of course, I only say this because in the Pokedex it is mentioned a fair few times that Golem sheds its skin, which may imply that Golem was cooking under the hardened, rocky body of Graveler this entire time. Or perhaps the Golem is a result of having a trainer refine and sculpt the Graveler into an absolute unit, requiring a true artiste to fully realize the potential of this line. And as with its pre-evolutions, Golem is no stranger to rolling down mountains. However, being larger and heavier, sitting at around 600 pounds now, they become a bit of a problem to the residents of mountain towns, who have to resort to digging out grooves and channels for the Golem to land in order to avoid having their homes and general structures destroyed by these uncaring boulder boys. But now it's time to take a trip to Alola and look at some regional variants of this line, and we're in for some surprises here, starting with Alolan Geodude, and its coloring is more of a silvery gray than the dirty rocky brown, and atop its head are two gloriously thick eyebrows that would make even Eugene Levy jealous. And if you don't know who Eugene Levy is, he was the father in American Pie, and if you don't know what American Pie is, then you are far too young. Please stop making me feel old. Alolan Geodude also come with some black spike-like things embedded into its scalp, but all of these black areas are actually iron sand. So why does Geodude have iron sand on and in its body right now? Well, valued customer, that would be because of its newfound typing of rock and electric, with the entire line being based on the theme of magnetic rocks, thus giving it the supreme strength of rock and electricity, but also the crippling weaknesses of rock and electricity, of which there are many. Much like its previous incarnation, this Geodude is also mistaken for a rock. However, I should really stress that you do not want to step on this Geodude, because if you do, you should expect to receive a quite literally shocking headbutt right in the balls. And Alolan Geodude are also commonly known for having headbutt contests with each other, winners being based on whoever gets the most iron sand from the other, thus proving that they have the best magnetism of all of the Geofolk. And with enough headbutts and battling as well as headbats and buttling, at level 25, much like its Kanto cousin, Alolan Geodude will evolve into an Alolan Graveler. So as we can see here, much like Alolan Geodude, Graveler has acquired the same big ol' eyebrows, as well as various areas of iron sand, such as sideburns? Yeah, alright. Sideburns. And its forearms now become a clear area of strength due to the massive iron spikes present. Not only is the Graveler covered in these dark sands, but also some funky new goldy patches on its rocky exterior, which are in fact crystals of some kind, meaning that this Graveler knows how to make an impression by sporting some serious bling. And rocks are once again the top recommended nutritional snack for Graveler, although Alolan Graveler have a preference for Dravite, which after many an om nom nom will result in these yellow gold crystals forming inside the Pokemon, eventually rising to the surface of Alolan Graveler's body. Now, having such a strong preference for Dravite, you can guess that there will be some tiffs over this delicious commodity, and once two Gravelers start to fight over food, smashing their bodies together will cause a huge flash and booming noise, with this occurrence being known as the fireworks of the earth to the locals of Alola. And once again, just like its Kanto counterpart, Alolan Graveler only evolves via trading, but once it does, then ooh my Arceus, we get an Alolan Golem, or perhaps even an Alolan if you will, which I know you probably won't, but now this is what I'm talking about, because I love that Alolan Golem actually looks like part of the family. But I mean, let's acknowledge the very obvious elephant in the room first of all. It has two huge black rocks sticking out of its body, which resembles a gigantic taser, although it is actually a cannon lined with those mysterious yellow Dravite crystals. We can also quite clearly see that Alolan Golem has the facial hair of dreams or nightmares, depending upon your preference for facial hair. But I mean, just look at that luscious, irony, sandy beard. It's pretty phenomenal regardless of your opinion on beards. Interestingly, Golem from Alola seem to have very short stubby arms, which probably can't be described as arms and more just as hands. There are no arms here. But this is pretty fascinating because if we consider that Geodude's body consists almost exclusively of arm, then we've gone in the very opposite direction here, where Golem's body consists mostly of beard and cannon. Now, Alolan Golem is known for its notorious and powerful attacks and is prone to launching an electrically charged charged rock from its cannon thing, which will cause severe numbness even if it only grazes a target. Meanwhile, it will cause instantaneous death if it does actually hit you. And funnily enough, Alolan Golem have been known to acquire and fire nearby Geodude, so even members from this very line tend to mistake each other for stock standard rocks. And just like Geodude, Alolan Golem are licensed grumpy boys and will let out a thunderous growl should you upset it, like a rawr, 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 rawr. And during this, the entire surface of its body will even discharge electricity, so if you ever do hear that fearsome cry, well then there's very little hope for you and your continued existence. All right, as for prominent trainers who use this line, starting in the Kanto region, there are actually 2 gym leaders who utilize Pokemon from the Geo Dynasty, one of which is none other than everyone's favorite simp, Mr. Brock. As the Pewter City gym leader, he has a Geodude on his team in almost every game appearance he makes, although by Gold, Silver, and Crystal, Geodude has evolved into a Graveler, and furthermore, in the remakes, Graveler even evolves into a Golem when you do indeed rematch Mr. Brock. And next up would be the mastermind himself, Giovanni. And being the ground type leader of Viridian City, we see him too join in on the Geo Gaggle in the Kanto Leaders Tournament of Black and White 2, where he uses a Golem on his team. Meanwhile, Rustboro City's gym leader Roxanne, who specializes in rock type Pokemon, has a Geodude on her team the very first time you battle her in Ruby and Sapphire. Funnily enough, in Emerald she has 2 of them, although by the time you rematch her, one of her Geodudes has, well, it has mysteriously vanished, hasn't it? And I imagine that it was probably thrown somewhere by the other Geodude, who is now a fully evolved Golem, in an example of survival of the fittest. Some more fun facts about the Geodude line. Geodude's name is a combination of Geo, which is the Greek for Earth, and Dude, which is English for dude, and is a surprisingly gender-neutral term, which is reflected in Geodude's perfect split of the 50-50 gender ratio. Graveler's sprite in Pokemon Red and Blue did not include his 2 extra arms holding its stomach. This was then changed for the Pokemon Yellow game, and furthermore, the original Geodude sprite was also such an abomination, of which we do not speak. We only look, and even then we look in horror. Graveler's design and lore may be influenced by Tsuchi Korobi, a figure from Japanese folklore who is known as the tumbling monster, as it will roll and crush anyone in its way. Golem is the only Pokemon who is impossible to see in Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow without obtaining one via trading. Yes, weirdly enough, absolutely no NPC in the game carries a Golem, so filling the Pokedex with no one to trade with would verge on impossible. Thanks for that, Game Freak. And finally, a truly useless fact. Other than the Alolan Geodude line, there are no other Pokemon with the type combination of Rock and Electric. Probably because this is a horrible combination and is weak to just about everything imaginable. And so you've made it to the end of another glorified infomercial. Congratulations, you deserve a reward. May I suggest treating yourself to a brand new Geodude right here at Team PokeMart? You see, that was pretty smooth, wasn't it? But please do make sure to stop by Team PokeMart to say hi, which you can do in the comments below. And if you're interested in some of our other merchandise, then please do click these tantalizing links over here. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel for regular updates on our new stock. But for now, this has been Team PokeMart, and we'll see you next time.